Hello everyone, welcome to Thread Local. Today we'll discuss the part 2 of the life cycle of a thread in Java. So in the previous part of the video, I have discussed what is new, runnable and blocked state. So here in this part, I will discuss what is waiting, timed waiting and terminated state. So what is waiting state? A waiting state means when the thread is waiting for some other thread to perform a particular action. So if you go through Java docs, it is said like if object.wait or thread.join or log support.park is called on the thread, that time it can go in the waiting state. So here take one example. Suppose I have a thread called thread1. I have started the thread and this is the run method of this thread1 which it is performing. So inside this run method I am creating another thread called thread2 and then I started that thread and then I am doing a thread2.join. If you look at here, this is the thread2's run method where I am doing a thread.sleep for 5000 millisecond. So what it will do is inside this method, run method of this thread2, if you now check for the status of the thread of thread1, then it will say as waiting. Why? Because thread2 have to now finish its job. So that time for 5000 millisecond time it is waiting. Okay. Then when this work is over, then thread 1 will be again continue to running. So this way we can produce a waiting state. Now let's check it here. So I have defined one waiting state thread and implementing the runnable, and this is the run method. Here I am creating one thread T1 which I have defined here, and I am passing this WS thread runnable object. So what it is doing, it is creating another thread called T2 and assigning a task. This task is T2 thread work. So if you go to that particular class, you can see there I have defined one run method where it will just do a thread.sleep for 1000 seconds. And inside that run method, I am printing the status of WS thread. Okay, that is WS thread dot T1 dot get state. So for this T1, I am printing the state. Now when I am doing a T1 dot start, it will start executing the work given here. So it will create the thread T2, then it will do a T2 dot start, then T2 dot join. Right. So I have covered it with try catch block because it will throw interrupted exception. Now when this T2 dot start happened, so that time what will happen? The control will go to this run method because that is the work assigned for T2, and it will do a thread dot sleep. Inside this, now if I am checking for status of thread 1 T1, that time as T2 join actually written, that time what will happen is this puts T1 in waiting state until T2 will finish its work. Right. So if we print here T2, T1 gets dead, then it will print waiting. Now let's check it. So you can see state of WS thread is waiting. It is showing. Now we will talk about the timed waiting state. So thread will be in time waiting state when it is waiting for another thread to perform a particular action within a defined amount of time. So if you go through the Java docs, you can see that because of 5-way, we can put a thread into a time waiting state. So one is thread.sleep for some millisecond, wait in timeout, thread.join long millisecond, log support.park nanos and log support.park until. So if we have to create this state, so what we can do is we can define a thread, then we can start that thread. Inside this thread's run method, we can do a thread.sleep for 5000 millisecond. So in between that, if we now check the state of this thread, then it will show as timed waiting. So I have created one class TWS thread, that is time waited state, and then I have defined one thread equal to T1. So then I'm doing T1 equal to new thread and assigning some work T2 thread work. So in the T2 thread work, if you see in this run method, I'm simply doing a thread.sleep for 5000 millisecond. So now here if I do a T1 dot start, the thread will start, right? But to create that situation, what we can do is we can do a thread dot sleep for 1000 millisecond. Then what it will give is it will give enough time to the thread scheduler to start processing of thread T1, right? Means immediately if it is doing or not, to make it sure, I'm just doing a thread dot sleep. After that, if you print the status of the thread T1, then you can see it is timed waiting. Yeah, if you see here, the status of the TWS thread is timed waiting. So now what is the terminated state? So when a thread will finish its work, it will go into the terminated state. Okay. Or the system randomly like breakdown or something terminated. That time also it will be terminated state. Means a thread when it will complete its task, it will be in the terminated states. So suppose one thread is there, thread 1. So inside the run method, whatever task was assigned to it, when it will finish doing that thing, then after that it will get terminated. And one more thing is, once the thread is terminated, you can't start it again. Let's take one example here. I have created one thread T1, and this is the like run method of this thread, which is empty. Means I have created the run method but not assigned any task inside that or write any code to perform. And then I'm doing a T1 dot start. So what will happen is, so I'm just doing a thread dot sleep to start it after some time. And after that, when it will start running the run method, it will not find any work for him. So as soon as that, it will like over up this work and it will get terminated. Here I am checking the status for that. So if you now run this, we can see status of TWS thread is terminated. Now one more method is there in thread, that is called isAlive. So by invoking that, we can check like if thread is runnable or not, means it is in running state or not. So that's why I have placed it in 3 places. So as soon as the thread is in new state, after that I invoke, then I did a T1 dot start, and like after the thread got terminated, after that also I am like invoking it. Let's see what kind of result it is producing. So first it is false because the thread is created but not yet started, so the thread is not alive. Then after that I created the started the thread, then it is showing true, means it is started. After that, when it is terminated, after that it is false, means the thread is no more alive. Now as I mentioned, once a thread is dead or terminated, after that you can't do a T1 dot start. It will throw some exception. Let's check that same thing. So if I call the start method again on this thread, it will throw some exception, that is java.lang.illegal thread state exception. So this is all about the other 3 state of the thread, and in the previous video I have explained all the other new and then waiting and then runnable states. So this is complete life cycle of a thread I have explained. Thanks for watching.